My name is Aina again, and welcome everyone who just joined to this webinar. So I've been featured in a couple of magazines last year, and my business was noticed and started skyrocketing. So this is not the current information. I actually a finalist already of Immigrant Entrepreneur of the Year, and for those who just joined, I am from Canada, Toronto, originally Ukrainian, but I've been living to Canada for 7.5 years already. So I'm Canadian, Ukrainian. So was the introduction, and I hoped that most people who wanted to join they already joined, so we can move on to the heavy lifting of today about Agile. So please let me know on the chat who has some knowledge about Agile or what Agile means for you. Please type on chat. Or if you have no knowledge about Agile, just let me know that I have no knowledge, or just type no or minus, whatever is preferable for you guys. I will have some drink while you are typing. Okay, I see beginner knowledge. Yeah, I see many people have no knowledge or beginner knowledge, which is totally fine. So we will just start from basic. So what is Agile? First of all, Agile is the mindset and its set of values and principles. It's not a framework. It's not like there is like set of rules like set in stone and you can't break them down. It's actually the opposite. It's just the mindset when people need to work together and to be collaborative and have freedom to say no. But let me start with the history then. So, like even like 30 years ago and further in the history, we had tangible projects, which means people used to build bridges, buildings, and work on physical, tangible stuff. And most of this work been like known for ages, for centuries. So it was easier to predict. It was easier to assume the amount of cost we will need by the end of the project. It will easier to predict the number of people we need to work, the workers, what they need to do specifically. And most of this work was tangible. But nowadays, when we work in IT and we have laptops, applications on our cell phones, we have online bankings, so the work become intangible. And it's hard to predict what we need and what result we want at the end, because most of this work we are doing the first time in our life. And I will give you an example. I work for banking and for insurance companies, and there's lots of stuff going on about the information security. And what was right 1 year ago, the systems and the tools might be obsolete. So we need to be updated all the time. And it's hard to predict using typical project management tools, using a waterfall, and having managers and workers, and expect this top-down hierarchical approach when the managers tell worker what to do. Unfortunately, or fortunately, in my case, it doesn't work nowadays. So we are moving from bottom-top approach. What it means? It means we are hiring professional IT people, professional developers, and as a manager, I need to expect you guys, if you are developers, to tell me what you're going to do to make this project successful. But what it means that we need to change our mindset. We need to change the mindset of our leaders who used to work with a top-down approach. And it's in our brain to think that if the person is in a higher hierarchy, it means he knows better and we need to listen to his ideas or his advice. But these people are managers, leaders. They work on the high level picture. They are here to give us the direction, to give us the North Star. But it's up to us to say how we're gonna do this work. And that's what Agile is about, to change this mindset and to adapt a new set of values and principles. So instead of saying I can't, we say how can I? Because nowadays everything what was impossible before is becoming possible. Look at Elon Musk and his projects of going to space, and Richard Branson and the others. So what we believed was impossible 10 years ago, it's possible now. And again, we need to switch our mindset to understand that it's possible. And instead of just saying, no, we can't do it, we need to think, how can we do it? In this case, again, we need to change the mindset, because one leader, one CEO or VP doesn't know how to do it. This person doesn't know everything, because tools and technologies develop so fast, so one person just can't adapt to everything. And that's why we are learning Agile principles and values today. And I'm going to pause because we have many beginners here, so you guys can reflect on what was said. So again, mindset, set of values and principles. And since Agile is for IT, we work in iterative and incremental approach. What this phrase means might not be understandable. It means, like before, if we had a project of a bridge or a house, it means like we had a scope, we had a plan, and then we delivered the whole project at the end to our stakeholders or someone who ordered us to build a bridge. And it was good because we can approve everything upfront. We could provide just drawings and agree on scope. But nowadays, again, it's hard to predict what our stakeholders want. And it's not even hard to predict. Sometimes our stakeholders don't know themselves what they want. Again, you must be surprised right now, but why do they order you to do the project if they don't know what they want? I can give personal example. I am changing my website at this moment. Since my business is growing and I keep adding new features, I need a new website. So I came to the team who can provide me with a new website and said to them, so this is my business idea. I need this website. Sounds good, but people need details from me. They asked me about the colors I want to have, and I didn't think about it. They asked me how many pages I want to have on my website. And I don't know the exact number, because I want a home page. I want my training page. I want my calendar page. So guys, you can explore what my business is about, to book a call with me or to book a training with me or to see my updates. But what else? Is it all? Or do I need some company policies page? Probably, but I didn't think about it until I came to the development team and they asked me if I wanted, and I told yes, but if they didn't ask me, I wouldn't know. So at the end, they would deliver me a website, and I would look at the colors, at fonts, and then somebody else would ask me, but where is your company policy page, or where is your company mission and vision page? And I wouldn't have it. So I would say, oh, I need to update my website. So I would come back to my developers and ask them for the updates, but they would say it wasn't in our initial scope. So you need to pay more money. And we actually delivered the whole project. So it's going to take us another month or so to update the colors, because we didn't know that you might not like it. Now you see how complicated it is and complex. And it's just a website. Website is not such a big project compared to online banking and security and front page and back end and everything what's going on with online banking or other like pharmaceutical projects. So these projects are huge. And if you see the complexity of the website, imagine what scale of complexity is happening with those projects. So people might work for years on this, and at the end when they deliver, the project might be obsolete or the customer wouldn't be satisfied. So what to do in this case? Again, coming back to the second item on our slide, we use iterative and incremental approach, meaning we agreed on scheduled meetings, for example, bi-weekly, where the team is showing their progress and not the whole website, definitely. For example, just the front page, what colors they choose, what font they choose, and kind of like a scope what's going to happen on the front page. So it will take us just 2 weeks to deliver just a part of the project and collect a feedback from me. So just in 2 weeks, I can observe and give some comments, what I like about it, what I want to see on my next pages, or what I don't like and we need to improve. So we don't need to wait until the end, until they deliver and then start redoing it from scratch. We do it iteratively, and this helps us to satisfy the customer first, because I see the progress right away and I can comment. And also it helps the team to understand my way of thinking, adapt to it quickly, and deliver the product I like. So everyone will be satisfied. I will be satisfied as a client, and they will be satisfied because at the end, I wouldn't give them a headache, but instead I will give them a very positive review. So empowered collaborative teams, I already spoke a bit about it. Continuous feedback, inspect and adapt. Again, just spoke about it. And faster realization of value for clients. So that's what Agile means in brief words. And business agility. Again, 30 years ago, it was when big enterprises ate small businesses. It was about size. Then when we moved to IT and to digital world, it became about speed. Fast is slow. But nowadays, it's no longer about the size. It is no longer about the speed. It's about adaptability wins over rigidity. So the company can be very big or very speedy, but if they don't adapt to a new environment and to the new requirements and customer feedback, unfortunately, neither size nor speed won't help. So we need to be adaptable, and how to be adaptable, we need to learn what Agile is about. We can use Agile for our day-to-day life as well, and what I like about it. It is hard to do it more often. If it is scary, do it more often. Learn something new every day. Use what you learned, learn from your failure, get comfortable with honesty and transparency, be willing to experiment, keep in mind risks though. Focus on value, not on tasks in your checklists. The working product doesn't mean a perfect product. This is very important because we have so many perfectionists, and sometimes teams don't deliver in bi-weekly scheduled increments because they tried to deliver perfect products. But no, we don't need perfect product. We never can have a perfect product. If we keep focusing on perfection, we can obsolete very quickly until we go to the market. And we are fun and awesome, and that's probably my favorite. Why not to have fun while we delivering some innovation? Why Agile? Let's talk business about it. Because Agile, it means if you're Agile, you need to work for large enterprises. It means these enterprises need to adopt Agile mindset, and businesses always talk about money, performance, speed of implementation. So let's talk business about it. So why Agile? We increase return on investment by making continuous flow of value our focus. So we increase in money for the company by making sure that the flow of our delivery is continuous. We deliver reliable results by engaging customers in frequent interactions and shared ownership. We expect uncertainty and manage for each through iterations, anticipation, and adoption. And I know it's in human nature to make sure that everything is under control and we are certain about everything. But look at the last 2 years. COVID happened, nobody expected it, nobody planned it. So we needed to adapt very quickly. And I told before, I'm Ukrainian. So at the beginning of February, nobody expected that war is going to happen at the end of month. And again, we are going to need to adapt, become agile, and rethink our values and have another plan. So we expect uncertainty and manage for each through iteration, anticipation, and adaptation. So we unleash creativity and innovation by recognizing the individuals are the ultimate source of value and create an environment where they can make difference. We boost performance through group accountability for results and shared responsibility for team effectiveness. And at the end, we improve effectiveness and reliability through situationally specific strategies, processes, and practices. And what I already talked a little bit, the system is complex. So when we start the project, it's easy. We have just a few people, just a few processes, but when we start progressing, when we start scaling, it's very fast when the project becomes messy, when people don't understand where their role starts, where their role ends. We create new processes, and at the end, we have a mess like on the middle of this picture. So this messy road represents the processes of the organization and complexity of the system. So that's where we come as agilists, as agile coaches to help these large enterprises to become adaptable, to become quicker, to respond to client feedback quicker, and help them to reduce complexity. So on the third picture, you will see that complexity is reduced a little bit, but still not perfect. And why it's not perfect? Because again, we can never be perfect, but also what we do, we fixing the plane on its flight. So we can't just stop working processes and decompose all of these messy roads and build the new ones. So we still need the processes to be existed while we are building the new ones and decomposing old roads. So it's still not perfect, but better and maybe more elegant and more designed than it was before. So last comment about agile. Being agile also means to be prepared for the unknown, be aware of black swans. If you read Nassim Taleb Black Swan, you are on the same page with me. It's one of my favorite books. If you didn't read it yet, I highly recommend Nassim Taleb and his book Anti-Fragility and the Black Swan. So be aware of black swans, react fast, act proactively, look into the future, keep up with trends, experiment, fail fast, learn continuously, and be awesome. And I like this quote of Mario Andretti, the racing driver. If everything seems under control, you are just not going fast enough. And again, the control topic, we can't control everything. We are prepared to uncertainty and we fail fast, but we learn continuously. Otherwise, if everything is under control for too long, it means like we are not aware of something. And what I tried to represent in this picture, when everything was fine for this guy who sold his snack, he didn't see the McDonald's coming like right next to him to the next corner, and it means probably this poor guy is going to close his business. So to prevent this, we need to learn, we need to improve, and we need to react fast and be aware of what's going on around us. So Agile Manifesto. If you are seriously interested on pivoting your career into Agile, you need to learn this manifesto by heart. And yeah, it's kind of a joke, but no joke at the same time. So what do we mean by Agile Manifesto? First of all, it's individual and interactions over processes and tools, because in the old world, people get used to processes and tools, but forget about interactions and individuals. Here in Agile, we are raising professionals, we are raising leaders within the team, not just leaders by title. And how we can do it? We can do it by interactions. So processes and tools are important, but they don't make our project successful. People make this. So individual and interactions over processes and tools. The next one, working software over comprehensive documentation. So again, documentation is important, but we are focusing on the product. We are focusing on customer satisfaction. We are focusing that our product is going to be useful for people, not just making money. So working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Again, as I mentioned, we can deliver everything by contract, but the customer won't be satisfied because they just didn't know that they want some features in the product. So that's why we are adaptive to change. And this is the next one, responding to change over following a plan, because sometimes perfect plan can lead to the customer satisfaction and the people will use our product. And I know so many startups which failed, unfortunately, because the owners had beautiful idea. They had wonderful project managers who had almost ideal plan. So they delivered the project on time and saved budget. But at the end, nobody just used their project because they missed this part. They missed customer collaboration. They missed individuals and interactions to really had a feedback of what they are people thinking and is there a better way to do this project. They didn't respond to change because maybe when they started this project 1 year ago, it was useful, but nowadays the circumstances changed and nobody wants this project. This project is obsolete. So again, individual interactions, working software, customer collaboration, and responding to change, these are key in Agile. And this is where the Agile Manifesto is standing on. Oops, sorry. So 2 principles of Agile methods very briefly. So as I told, customer satisfaction, welcome change, deliver frequently, working together, motivated team, face-to-face collaboration. Unfortunately, it's not really possible during the COVID time. So we see even Agile methods is not up to date and needs to have some updates. But let's say instead of having face-to-face like physically, we can have other tools like Zoom, what we are doing right now, and you see my face. So we can adapt. Again, we are agile, we are adaptable, so we adapt as much as we can on this note, face-to-face. So working software, constant pace, good design, simplicity, self-managing, and reflect and adjust. So I know for many, if I talk agile, many picture Scrum, because these are 2 buzzwords you see on LinkedIn and everywhere else, like talking about software. But agile, again, it's not a framework. It's just an umbrella of mindset, values, and principles. And there are approaches or frameworks under this umbrella. So Scrum is just one of them. And you see how many we have other than Scrum. We have lean software development. We have Kanban, extreme programming, continuous integration, continuous delivery, Scrum of Scrum. If you're talking about scale enterprises, Scrum at scale, large scale, Scrum, etc. If you're beginners, you don't need to learn all of this and even don't need to memorize. The point of this picture is just to show that Agile is not Scrum. Agile is mindset, values, principles, and Scrum is one of the many frameworks under the Agile umbrella. So what does being Agile mean? It means Agile is a set of values and principles aimed at creating an environment of trust where empowered teams work collaboratively at a sustainable pace to deliver creative solutions based on the client's needs. And Agile is an umbrella term used to encompass many different techniques and disciplines, all aimed at incrementally and iteratively developing a solution. So this was the first part. I hope you got the difference between Scrum and Agile, that Agile is just an umbrella of mindset, values, and principles, and Scrum is a framework, a specific framework. So let's speak about what is Scrum, why all of you are here to learn what Scrum is about. And I posted a picture of myself finishing the marathon. And why I posted it, because I like the words here, start and finish. Scrum as a framework help us to stop starting and start finishing what we plan to do, and again, deliver a project as soon as possible and solicit feedback as soon as possible. Now, what is Scrum? Again, Scrum is an agile framework that helps team work together. And much like a rugby team, where it gets its name, and I know people who are into sports, they see Scrum as a sports game first, and us corporates, we see Scrum as something about IT and Jira and stickers and tickets on the wall. So much like a rugby team, training for the big game, Scrum encourages team to work collaboratively, learn through experiences, self-manage while working on a problem, and reflect on their wins and losses to continuously improve. And I had an interview with a real rugby coach, I mean like sports rugby coach, and we compared Scrum in sports and at work. So we found many similarities, and probably that's why this term was taken from sports and adapted to the corporate world. So in sports, in Scrum, we have a team of 8 people, and in work, in Scrum, we have the perfect number of like 3 to 9 people. It can be more, and not a problem about it. But as we say, the perfect team size is a pizza size. So if you buy one pizza, you can divide it into slices, and one pizza need to be enough for one team. So normally like 9, up to 9 people, it's fine to be in a team of Scrum. So in sports, in Scrum, people team react simultaneously. They synchronized, they have a direction, they are engaged, and they have lots of energy. So why not to adapt this to the corporate world? Why not to come back to work and be synchronized, to have direction, to have the North Star from the leaders, to I just don't like the word react in corporate world. Why not to be proactive and work simultaneously, be engaged and to be energetic? And also in Scrum at work, we have sprints, and we will talk a bit later about it. We focus on customer feedback. We deliver continuously. We focus on working software, and we are having fun. So it's quite similar to what people do in sports, other than delivering working software at the end. So Scrum as Agile has its values, and first of all, it's courage, commitment, openness, or trust, respect, and focus. So what means by courage? Courage means Scrum team members have courage to do the right thing at work on tough problems. Commitment means people personally commit to achieving the goals of Scrum team. It's not like, again, the manager from the hierarchical position comes and tell people what to do and micromanage. No, we are self-responsible, and we personally commit to achieving our goals. And first we set up goals for ourselves, and then we commit to achieve them. And we have courage to face the problems. We have courage to say no to our leaders and even sometimes to our customers. We have courage to provide new ideas, better ideas, because again, I'm a leader, I'm an agile coach, I am a professional on agile, on planning, on how to help the team working together better, on conflict resolution, on working with people like overall. But as I told, I never wrote even one line of code, so who am I to tell my team what they need to do from the technical perspective? That's why we're talking about courage. So it's them who need to come to me, the coach, or like the leadership, to tell that some approaches don't work. And what's more, we have a better solution how to do this project better, or how to deliver it faster, or how to make sure that our customer is satisfied. And it seems easy, but it takes courage to do when the organization is transforming from being hierarchical to agile. That's why I point in courage as the first value of Scrum values. Openness. The Scrum team and its stakeholders agree to be open about all the work and the challenges with performing the work. Also respect, very important. Scrum team members respect each other to be capable, independent people. They might not like it, they might have conflicts, this normal. I actually like conflicts when they don't go into like too personal level or like too high level, because during the conflict we have the best ideas, and If people conflict, it means they care. It means they want this project to be better and they want to satisfy their customers. Just sometimes personality don't click all the time, or they have contrary ideas. But if we conflict with respect, it means we care about each other. We are the team. And I know sometimes people say, oh, my team is like a family to me. It's fine, it's good when we feel like a family in our team, but still the team is a team, the family is a family, and the key of good relationships and having fun and enjoy and satisfaction at our work is respect each other, respect our stakeholders, and respect our clients. And focus, obviously, people focused on the work of the sprint and the goals of the Scrum team. Now that's about values. And now it's a heavy part, complicated for those who never seen it before, but don't freak out. That's actually all what we are going to talk about by the end of the webinar. And definitely you might explore this later into the deeper level. Again, it's just a preview what Scrum is about, just to give you the idea, the taste of it, the flavor. And I saw some of you wrote on comments that you come here to learn what it is about. So this is a high level of what Scrum is for today. If you're interested, please feel free to contact me after the webinar and we will talk about the details, or just Google other information. There are lots of information on Google and YouTube now, but let's talk about Scrum Framework. So we have a person who's called a product owner. If you hear this term the first time, this is a person who is responsible for the product. So for example, if we are talking about the website, so this person needs to have some knowledge about how the websites are built, like in generally. And this person is a glue between the team and between the end users, the customers, the teams, and other stakeholders. So, for example, I am a client. I came to the development team to modern the website. So they are technical people. They might ask me the details I have no idea about, or they might not even ask at all. So if I don't provide some requirements, they might not ask it, assuming that they don't need to do it. And at the end, I won't have a product I want. If we have product owner, a link between myself as a customer who understands my pain, who understands my language, and who has knowledge of the product and has some technical knowledge to collaborate it with the stakeholder, with the development team, and ask me the right questions and transform my answers to the technical requirements to the development. So this means that we have our project successful at the end. For example, the product owner comes to me and asks me, so we will have 10 pages on your website, but it's gonna take some time to load it, especially on the mobile version. And I would say like, okay, so he would ask, so what is the appropriate time for you for loading? And I would say as a customer, I want to load it fast. Okay, makes sense. Everybody wants their product to be loaded fast, otherwise we will lose our customer. And if the product owner comes to the development team and provides this requirement, the customer told she wants to her application to be loaded fast on the mobile version. For the developer, it wouldn't make any sense. Fast means what? It means 1 second. It means 2 seconds, 5 seconds. It's very crucial for the developer. So the requirement doesn't make sense. And that's why we have this person, we have a product owner who understands me as a customer and who understands the developers. So if I said, I want it to be loaded fast, the next question is going to be, would be like 5 seconds appropriate for you? Or do you want 2 seconds or like whatever? So he speaks numbers to me. He speaks the developer's language. And I start thinking, probably, like I need to do some research to see like how fast the other applications open, because I use applications, but I never thought about how long I need to wait to open this, and then provide the specific requirement to the product owner. And then when product owner speaks to me as a client, he has some features for the product. Talking about the website, it could be the front page, it could be the calendar, it could be payment link attached to the training landing page, like whatever. So since he knows better than me how the website is constructed, he has this list of features at the end. And he brings these features to the team and have sprint planning, because they can't deliver all of the features simultaneously. So they need to prioritize what is the most important to deliver in the next 2 weeks, let's say. So as a client, I can explore and provide my feedback. Would it be more important to start with my team page or with the home page? So probably if we just started the website, home page is the most important for me. Or maybe I want to sell my product as soon as possible, so I want a landing page. So that's why they have a sprint planning meeting where they prioritize the scope. And after they prioritize, they had a sprint backlog, which is going to sprint. And I kept talking about sprint, but I didn't explain it. So the sprint is a time-boxed approach, normally between 1 to 4 weeks, when the team delivers the increment they agreed during the sprint planning meeting. So if our sprint, let's say 2 weeks, and 2 weeks is my favorite cadence, because 1 week might be too short for developers to code and to test. And again, if we're talking about large enterprises, we are talking about much harder projects as a website. So 1 week could be too short to deliver something. 3 weeks, it's quite long and boring to me, but it works for some teams, and it's always about the team to decide the cadence. Sometimes they use 4 weeks, but again, from my personal opinion, it's too long, so I prefer 2 weeks. But based on Scrum Framework, we adopt between 1 to 4 weeks. So after this lens, we need to provide a potentially shippable product, the increment, which our customer can explore, provide us the feedback. And at the end, we do the retrospective. And during the retrospective, we talk about sprint. We talked about what was well, what was wrong, and how can we adapt the feedback for future sprints. That's why during the review at the end of the sprint, we solicit the feedback from the customer to make sure that we are adopting it to our future sprints. During the sprint, we have daily Scrum or stand-ups, if you heard this terminology, where a team gather together normally in the morning and provide updates to make sure that the information is flowing, that information is sharing, and if they have any impediments, they can share it during the stand-up. And this is another key person who calls Scrum Master. So Scrum Masters make sure that the work is going on, that there is no impediments, but if there are impediments, this person makes sure that they are resolved and the team keeps delivering. So this is a very brief, high-level Scrum framework. Since we have many new people here, I don't want to scare you to go deeper. But let's just look at Scrum Artifacts. I kept talking about sprint planning, and at the end, we need to provide the backlog. So what means the backlog? Backlog, again, Agilists would kill me if if they hear that I said it. It's kind of like a task list for like the very high level. If you're a beginner, if you're not a beginner, definitely it's not a task list, it's a list of user stories. But let's say it's something we plan to deliver in the next 2 weeks. So it's a list of stories or a list of tasks which are detailed, estimated, emergent, and prioritized. So we might have like very long product backlog. This means we have features and stories planned for like future, but we have sprint backlog, And sprint backlog means that we prioritized some stories to deliver in the next 2 weeks, so our customer can explore and taste what we've been working the last 2 weeks. The product increment, as I told, it's actually something what we deliver, so customer can play around and see what they like or what they don't like and want to change about it. Now, these are three main Scrum artifacts. And I told about the prioritization. So you might think, how can we prioritize? Because everything is important. And I faced it almost always when I start working with teams who are new to Agile, but even sometimes with teams who have been working in Agile for like some years even. I come to these teams and they told, we prioritize all of these tasks, and I see, like, my gut tells me, even though I don't know the work, that this amount of tasks is impossible to deliver in 2 weeks. And when I asked this, they told, yes, we know, but everything is important. But if we already know that we can't deliver this in 2 weeks, why do we plan it? And then there is another question, how we're going to prioritize. There are many techniques about prioritization, like Moscow, Eisenhower metrics, Pareto law, story mapping, like before we start prioritizing. So I have a special course, which is definitely not a webinar. So if you're interested, you might contact me later after this webinar and ask about the dates for this bootcamp. But this is just one example on how we prioritize using the Moscow technique, which means must, should, could, or would. And if we are talking about the BlackBerry, we say that the frame and the call, the ability to call, like to call and receive the call, is must here on this phone. The ability to type the message is should, and to have the camera to make sure that we can take pictures is a could, and the internet browser is would. So this was a BlackBerry case like 25 years ago, when we saw phones as ability to call and receive the calls, and everything else was less important. And it worked, like this prioritization worked. So if somebody asks us to deliver a BlackBerry phone, we will start with calls first, then our customer would explore this feature, then we would move on to texts, then to pictures, and probably have access to the internet. But life's changing and products are developing. So when iPhone came to the market, they prioritized everything as must. It was must to receive calls, it was the must to take pictures, the must to be able to text, and must to have 5G internet. But again, we couldn't deliver all of these features at the same time. So when they built their product, they needed to still choose something what they want to deliver first. But since I didn't work for Apple, I don't know which feature they started, but we all know that Apple got success compared to BlackBerry. So this is just one way of prioritization to make sure that we identified what must be delivered, what should be delivered, what could be delivered, and what would be delivered. And again, when we are talking about scope and length of the project, the timeline, sometimes the client says we want to have everything, but when we provide the budget for receiving calls, for texts, for the internet browser, and for pictures, they see that the budget is way above they considered. So they need to decide if they really want the internet browser or if they really want to have a picture feature on their phone. So this makes the product visible and also helps the customer to understand what's going on with the product and to make the right decision, and also helps the product owner to collaborate with the customer and to make a right decision for the sprint planning. Now, user stories. I mentioned this word, but for those who don't know what user story is a piece of work which is considered from the customer side. And if we work with the back end, sometimes stories are too technical, so nobody other than developers understands them. And there is a trick that if we just like write user stories as tasks without end user perspective, we might lose our focus and why we deliver this project like overall. But if we keep focusing on the customer, we keep focusing on what's important for them, and then we don't do our work just to get money. We don't just exchange our life for money, our work hours for money. We care about the customer and we care about their satisfaction, and we improve life. We improve the other people's life by making our products better and by making them usable. So for example, again, since I work for banking and in insurance, all of you use the online banking. And I don't know, like all over the world, but I know that in Canada, most online banking, honestly, is like pretty shitty. So our customers don't have enough satisfaction. And yes, I work for the banks as a consultant, but outside the work, I'm also this bank user, this online banking user. And as a user, I see that it has like lots of improvement. So again, user story helps us developers to see what's going on from the customer perspective and to care about them and understand what they really want. So the simple example how we write the user story, you have this formula as someone, I want something so that we have a result. And as an example, as a student, I want to learn to write user stories so that I can capture requirements that add value for the business. And how we structure user stories, they need to be independent, negotiable, valuable, estimable, small, and testable. And again, this is just a flavor for you what the user story is about. If you are interested in deeper knowledge, I have additional training and bootcamp on how to write user stories. So please feel free to contact me after this webinar. Now, estimation. I mentioned estimation a couple of times, but again, for new to Agile people, might not have any sense how we estimate and what do we mean by estimation. So I know in a classic project management, people estimate work by hours, but in Agile, we estimate it by story points. So we use Fibonacci sequence, which means you don't see like the numbers in order. You see 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, etc. 34, it's not the end of this number, but how it's built, we add to the next number, the previous one. So for example, we got 3 out of combining 1 and 2. Then we have 5 because we did 2 plus 3. We got 8 by combining 3 plus 5. 13 is a combination 5 plus 8, etc. So the next number is going to be 21 plus 40 plus 34, but it's too large. We don't use it while we estimate. So why not using hours? Because in Agile, we manage work, not workers. So the work can be complicated, but it can be complex as well. So we estimate based on complexity and how complicated it is. So I don't know how many of you work in IT. I see that we are a very diverse group of people today. So I will provide you a kitchen example. So if I want to wash the dishes and I see the plate, I will probably estimate it as 1. Because some plates can be like very clean and it will take me like 1 minute to wash them. The other plates can be dirty and it might take me 15 minutes to scrub them, but still it's a plate. The same with the cup, I will make it equal to the plate. It's easy and it's not complex, even though it might be clean or dirty. But if I am talking about the microwave, I would probably say that it's 3 because it's way more complicated and complex than the plate or a cup. But if I talk about the oven, I might say it's 8 or even 13, depends how dirty the oven is. But sometimes, for example, if I work as a cleaner and I need to clean someone else's kitchen, I don't know if it's clean or dirty if I do it the first time. So I will go with the 13 because it might be complex, it might be dirty, it might be complicated. But if I know the work, if I keep coming to this client again and again, I might know that, yes, it's going to be dirty, so I can provide like 13 estimation for sure. Or if I know that it's going to be clean and I just need to touch base some furniture, so it's going to be like 3 or 5. And this is the point of agile, because the work is unknown and it's hard to predict. That's why how can we predict the hours? So we try to predict the complexity and then we adapt. So if we are doing it the first time, we say 13 because we don't know, we include the unknown in our estimation. But if we keep doing it again and again, sprint after sprint, we know the work, we know the code, we know how to do it, so we might reduce the estimation to 3, 5, or 8. So again, it's a preview about estimation. If you didn't get it, it's okay. We will have a Q&A after this, or feel free to sign up to my bootcamps about writing user stories and user stories estimation. Now, another artifact, another end result, what we are having in sprints is the definition of ready. It means how can we know that the stories are ready to work on. If the developers take the story to work, it means they need to complete the story. But if the story is not ready, it means they won't be able to do their work. So definition of ready defines the criteria that a product backlog item has to meet before being considered ready for estimation or inclusion into sprint. Again, might be too many jargon words for new to agile people. So in simple way, if the developer takes the story, they need to make sure that they can work on it, that everything what was unknown was discussed during the previous meetings. Everything they need, like the input from the other subject matter experts or stakeholders, was taken before. So when the developer takes this piece of work, they need to finish it by the end of the sprint. And definition of done defines the criteria that must be met before a product backlog item can be considered complete or done. So this is basically about the acceptance criteria. So as a client, do I want to have like perfect homepage on my website, or would I accept it with some minor changes, or can I prioritize this like changes to be done later, or do I need it to be like perfectly opened and perfectly fit into the homepage? So what can we decide by done? How can we consider our story to be done? How can we consider our work to be done? So these two items also needs to be discussed before we start doing work. Otherwise, we might have a misunderstanding between the team members, between the team and stakeholders, or the team and the client, and at the end, not deliver the work we promised, or our customers won't be satisfied. So moving on to the ceremonies. So it's the same picture you already seen before, but it was like a framework in general. Now let's focus on the ceremonies such as planning, review, retrospective, daily Scrum meeting, and product backlog refinement. So sprint planning. Sprint planning is a Scrum ceremony designed to make sure that the team is prepared to get the right things done every sprint. We are focusing on our goal. We are discussing the targeted stories. We discuss estimates and velocity. Velocity means the capacity of the team, what the amount of work the team can produce during the sprint, which let's say 2 weeks. So this ceremony provides at the beginning of each sprint. It could be up to 4 hours per sprint. The Scrum team and subject matter experts are attendees for this ceremony. And we use product backlog and velocity as an input to get sprint goal and the backlog. Again, if it's too many jargon words, don't be scared. You can learn about it later. Stand up or daily scrum. As I told, people come together, and why it's called stand up, because when we work collocated, when we worked in the office, we stood because it helped us to save some time, because people spend so much time in the meetings, and people notice that if we just sit, we relax, we start like talking more about something less important. But if we stand, we focused on what's going on, and we focused on three main questions. What did you do yesterday? What will you do today? And other impediments in the way. So the purpose of this is to share information and make sure that we spoke about the impediments, and Scrum Master starts working on the impediments to make sure that we can keep producing and nothing blocks us. For those who are more experienced, so these meetings happening every day. The time box it's up to 15 minutes. Attendees are Scrum team, and stakeholders might be there too. So we take sprint goal and the backlog to discuss, and the output we share the information. So I mentioned information radiators, and we update in our backlog. So review. During the review, we show the demo of our work. So coming back to the website, during the review, my developers are going to show me the home page of my website. And the purpose of this is inspect and adapt the work and solicit the feedback from me as a client. So during this meeting, we are focusing on sprint goals and outcomes. We demonstrate working increments, the homepage in our example. We discuss challenges and opportunities, because sometimes I have a requirement and people think it might work, but when they start coding, they see that something doesn't come up together. So if we have challenges, we discuss if I still need this feature, or what kind of opportunities, or they might provide the other solution to my problem, and gather the feedback. And again, talking about the ceremony itself, it happens at the last day of each sprint, time box to 1 hour, Scrum team and stakeholders are attended. The input, we say sprint goals and the backlog, and as the output, we have the working product. So the retrospective, one of my favorite meetings, where we have the opportunity to improve continuously. So this meeting, it's only for the team, because we discuss here how we worked as a team during the last sprint. And as it said, what happened in Vegas stays in Vegas, but unfortunately nowadays this doesn't work anymore, because what happened in Vegas stays in YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever social media. But what happened during the retrospective stays in retrospectives, because here it's a very intimate moment where we can discuss what was wrong. And it shouldn't be just about processes or coding. We talked about the feedback from our customers, if it's reasonable, what we can do about it, how we can improve. And it also might be some personal discussion, because sometimes people don't work together. So it could be very private conversations that one developer can't work with the other developer, or people are in a storming phase and they just can't stand each other. And if external people come into this meeting, people just simply don't feel safe to address their issues. And if you ask them what went wrong, they would say everything was fine. And this is not a purpose of the retrospective, just to say everything is fine, just leave me alone, I want to code. So people need to feel safe. And what I wanted to show you, when we build the team, it's going through the formation such as forming stage, storming stage, norming, performing, and adjourning. So you see, until we start performing, we need to pass the first 3 stages, which are forming, storming, and norming. And there are lots of conflicts during the storming stage. So external people are not welcomed, because people can't resolve the conflict. And also in the hierarchical organization, some managers try to sneak to the retrospective and ask the Scrum Master or team members to invite them to the meeting. So again, coming back to Scrum Values, we are courageous and we need to have courage to say, no, guys, you are not invited to our retrospective because it's a private meeting. And some stakeholders are very sneaky, I might say, and they ask the Scrum Master to provide the report after this retrospective. So you might provide the action items as a transparency, because in Agile and in Scrum, the keyword is transparency. We need to make sure that information is flowing. But the key items is not about what we discussed. It's about our next steps. So don't provide, again, you are allowed to say no. It's a retrospective, it's just for the team. So I won't provide you about our conversation, especially if it's private. But these are the action items, and especially if the stakeholders might help you with action items identified, yes, feel free to bother them with what you discussed to do next. So again, the purpose of the retrospective is to improve continuously, is to be better than we were before. Even if it's good, it doesn't mean that this sprint was bad. It could be like one of our best sprints, but there is always room for improvement, and we always aim to be better and to learn continuously and to predict future and to see what is coming and to be proactive. Otherwise, Black Swan as a McDonald's or as Apple or someone else is gonna come. So if we talk about what can be better, again, just want to make sure that you guys got it. Doesn't mean that something was bad. So moving on to the last ceremony, backlog refinement. So this session helps to review product backlog and prepare for sprint planning. So sometimes, especially when we just started working in sprints, the planning session is not enough. So we need some meetings like before planning, kind of like planning before planning. So we call them the backlog refinement session. So here we are focusing on our backlog, adding new user stories, reprioritizing or estimating stories, decomposing larger stories. And sorry for agile jargon. You might got it later. And if you message me later on LinkedIn, I think all of you came from me from LinkedIn, so I will send you the slides. So you might Google some jargon you didn't get during this webinar. So when it's happening weekly, 1 hour time boxed Scrum team and subject matter experts are welcomed here. So as an input, we are taking product increment and backlog, and as the output, we will have updated product backlog. And the last, what we're going to talk about, Scrum team. So we already talked about the product owner, the person who is a glue between businesses or customers or end users and the team. You probably know who developers, quality assistants, architect, and business analysts are. And another person is a Scrum Master. I want to make sure that you guys get it, that all team members are equal. There is no hierarchy in the team.
Seguramente él.
Sorry, can I finish talking about the slides? This is the last slide, and then you will be able to ask your questions. So there is no hierarchy, and some organizations see product owner as a leader, as a manager, and some people see that they might a career like as a developer and then to be a Scrum Master, and they assume it as a promotion, and then from the Scrum Master to get to the product ownership role, and again they see it as a promotion. No, it might look as a promotion in some organizations, but these are just different roles. So product owner and the Scrum Master are a leadership role, but they're equal. And also product owner, Scrum Master, developers, testers, business analysts, they are part of one team and there is no hierarchy. It's just different roles, different responsibilities, but There's total equality in Agile and Scrum. Sorry, I told it was last slide. Actually, this one is the last slide about Scrum Master skills. So remove impediments. We already talked about it. This is the main responsibility. Knowledge about Agile, different frameworks such as Scrum and Kanban, and be able to coach teams. Tool maintenance. We talked before that we have collaboration and people and interaction over processes and tools, but still we work online, and unfortunately tools take more time of us, and it was easier when we worked collocated, just post stickers on the wall, so we didn't need to maintain much. But nowadays most organizations move to Jira, and especially when we have scaled frameworks, we need to learn how to maintain tools like Miro, Jira, Confluence, and the other tools organization used. So facilitator, one of the key hats Scrum Master needs to wear, because somebody needs to facilitate the meetings, and this is a prime responsibility of the Scrum Master. Communicator. So product owner communicates the vision and the product. Scrum Master communicates everything else. Scrum Master communicates impediments. Scrum Master communicates the progress, the capacity, updates the stakeholders, make sure that the information is flowed, and also communicate with the team members and make sure that the conflicts are resolved. And Scrum Master, when you do a Scrum Master role, it's kind of like you have a pulse on your team members, and you know what is happening like with the team every single moment. And to be able to do this, you need to be a good communicator. Reporting. So yes, we are Agile, but we still use some reporting system especially in the scaled Agile. So you still need to provide some reports to your stakeholders. Shield the team. Again, one of the key responsibilities, because again, stakeholders might be very sneaky and kind of mitigate the Scrum Master or product owner role, and come to the developers right away with their requirements, and keep bothering them with the updates. But this is very dangerous, and I can provide the example of my work. So we worked on one feature, and it required a manual from the client workers. So we started printing this manual, and we had blue and green colors there, and yellow, and then stakeholders decided to change the color from blue to red, because they thought it's going to be like more important, so they wanted to grab the workers' attention. So they came directly to the developer, avoiding Scrum Master, myself, as usual. So because they thought it's just like 1 second update, just update the whole colors here. And developers also thought he didn't need to bother me, because it's just like 1 second work for this. So he updated all colors to red. It was 1 second work, but they didn't know that we already started printing the manuals. And appeared that we needed to make the decision if we want to change this color back to blue, or the client needs to spend another $12,000 to reprint the manuals. And I'm quite an environmentalist, so I was worried about clients' money, definitely, because it's my job, but also about the forest and the trees, which were just wasted on these manuals if we want to reprint them. So eventually I convinced them to keep the blue color, so developer just needed to change it back. But and that's why shielding the team from the stakeholders is one of the crucial points for the Scrum Master roles, and to make sure that they are like the key communicator between stakeholders, subject matter experts, or like whoever we have in organization, and the team. And team support, because if we told Agile, we are fun. We are not just like sprinting, delivering. We are supporting each other. We are respecting each other, and we are cheering each other, and we celebrating our achievements. That's why team support is important for the Scrum Master role. This is the end of the webinar, a couple of testimonials, and I see that I need to change this slide and update the slide for more recent ones. So if you guys feel value from this webinar, you can support me by buying my book. It starts with you, it's just $10, but all funds I am having from this book, I am donating to support Ukrainian refugees and people who lost shelters in Ukraine during the last 60 days of war. And I can post this link on the website, on the chat if you are interested. And after that, we just go to the questions. So this is the link and some reviews. And yes, here we are, Q&A. So I see some questions on chat, so let me